Hey tribe, Dawna here from Transformational Healing. And as the veil is getting thinner as we approach Samhain, I thought it would be a great time to talk about different types of divination that you can use to perhaps contact your ancestors, or to connect to your guides, or to just look inside and to ask your higher self to help you with questions and with insights that you are looking for. So, like I said, the veil gets thin during the time of Samhain and also during Beltane. And it is thought that this is a great time to work with spirits, those of our ancestors, and a lot of people also believe with the Fae and with other dimensions, that because the veil is not just getting thinner between this world and the next world, the veil is getting thinner for all types of spiritual communication, no matter what it is you are trying to talk to. So there are so many different types of divination, and I'm only going to be touching on a few of them, and we can go into the differences between them or how to use each of them in future videos. So if you are interested in that, make sure that you comment down below and let me know that you want more videos and what you want those videos to be on. The first one that I want to talk about is tarot. And this is my Robin Wood deck. You see your Three of Cups. And tarot is designed in 4 suits and then has all of the trumps being things like the Chariot, which is perfect because this week we are talking about bringing light and joy into your home. So last week we talked about knowledge and learning and books and to realize where you get your information from. And this week we are talking about letting that joy and light and information into your space. So if you're going to be using different types of divination, you want to be doing that in a bright and happy manner, looking for answers. You want to make sure that the space that you are doing your divination in is protected, that your home is protected, and that you are surrounded by good and happy and joyful energy. So anytime you do a cleansing or a clearing on your house, you want to make sure that you fill up that space with good energy. So if you're going to create a sacred space in whatever way you do that, to do your divination in, to make sure that you're receiving information from good places, you want to make sure you fill that space with positive and happy energy. So getting a tarot reading done at a store is highly possible. I actually do the readings myself virtually and here at Star and Splendor, as well as Amy does amazing tarot readings if you happen to be local. Tarot readings are one way to get insight. But another way using cards to get insight that's a little easier to use for yourself and to get messages that perhaps might be a little bit clearer to you is to use a divination deck. There are so many types of divination decks, and these divination decks are not the same as tarot. As I said, tarot has very specific cards. There's a standard set that those cards come in. They are all the same, even if they have different pictures on them. They have the same 4 suits, the same cards, and the same number of trumps or higher arcana in them. So when you go to do an oracle deck or a like wisdom cards or something like that to give you thoughts, positive thought cards, you want to choose whatever works for you. So this is the Beyond Lemuria deck that I actually did get here at Star and Splendor. Most oracle decks will come in a nice box. They'll come with a book that explains all the different meanings of the cards. different spreads that you can use, and the different meanings of the cards. And most of them have a short version and a longer version for you to read. And an oracle deck could be anything. They usually have positive words or thoughts or different meanings to give you an idea, and they have different pictures on them. And there we have home. Isn't that beautiful? And the throat chakra. Yeah, I'm a little scratchy today, so that's interesting. So even when you're not looking for a reading, sometimes the cards will speak to you. So divination decks, you can get anything from goddess decks to fairy decks to unicorns, angels, just positive thoughts. There's Rumi decks and Buddha decks, and you name it. It's an unbelievable plethora of gorgeous decks of things that will talk to you. A lot of the animal card decks are also different types of oracle decks. So this is another one of my favorite decks. And this one is one that when I just need a clear slap you upside the head type of reading, believe it or not, this one, it just speaks the truth, and there's no, to me, it speaks the truth, and there's like no doubt about what it's talking about. But Brian Froud's Fairy Oracle deck. And, amazing artwork, very beautiful and good artwork. And sometimes it's hard to read there, but you can read the numbers and then look them up in the book. And it depends on you whether you read things upside down or don't read things upside down. We have the Fairy Godmother card. And then he has, Singers of Creation, talking about connecting to energies, that sort of thing. And with oracle decks, it's not so much that you memorize the cards and you know what they are and this and that. An oracle deck is easier to get that one-on-one answer because the cards come up, you do a simple spread like past, present, future, 3 cards, something like that, or just shuffle until something comes out and saying, what do I need to hear today? What message do you have for me today? And then you shuffle the deck until something pops out of the deck, and that's the card you read. It's less up for interpretation. So when you do a tarot reading for yourself, you can interpret those cards the way that fits whatever's in your head. So you're kind of not using a clear windshield, so to speak. It's a little harder to read for yourself. But when you're just reading from the book about what the card means, you get a little bit less of that. You still put your stuff in your way, but it's a little bit harder to put your own spin on things to get the answer you're looking for instead of the answer that your guides or your higher self, your subconscious, is trying to get you to listen to. Moving forward, and I hear another train coming. You can also use runes. And these are my runes that I created for myself. And divination with runes is one way to get messages from your higher self or from your ancestors. Asking questions and throwing the runes, or asking questions and pulling one rune out. There are lots of good runic books and things, so if that fits more of how you feel about working with divination, right now would be a great time to pull stuff for the coming year, for what you need to do from this Samhain to the next Samhain to help guide you and help your steps along the way. There are also lots of different other things that we can use. So we talk about divination, but why am I talking about divination? Besides the vintage tarot cards that I occasionally get or vintage oracle decks, I don't sell any of these things myself in the shop, but they're tools that help us get in contact with ourselves, so they help us to come back to balance. because it helps us to contact our inner knowing, our inner self, or to receive information from the ancestors, from guides, and to be able to use that information and move forward. There's also other ways to get that information, like a pendulum. So this is a pendulum from Star and Splendor. This is a simple quartz pendulum, and you can get things that are a little bit more ornate. This one actually has, it's a lapis lazuli, and it actually has a beautiful actual pointer on the bottom. It has a lobster claw where it comes apart. And, you know, I grabbed this one not just for the lapis lazuli, but it had a dragonfly on it, so I had to. So pendulums are really easy to help you make decisions and to help get information from yourself or from the energies around you. Working with yes/no questions is the most simple, but you can also use other types of things to get answers with a pendulum. So as you see, pendulum is moving and I'm not moving. So we use a pendulum and you ask it to stop, and you ask it to show you yes, and you ask it to show you no, and then you can ask your questions. Now, a lot of people say that you should ask a question that you definitely know the answer of for the pendulum to tell you yes or no, but I usually just ask the pendulum to show me yes and to show me no. But you can use them with things like this board. So it can tell you yes, no, maybe, rephrase, and it has the different letters around. So different boards or different pieces of paper, just writing yes and no on pieces of paper across from each other like this can be very helpful when you use a pendulum. But just different ways to give you insight. And no, just because that board has letters around the outside and has some of the simple things, it is not a Ouija board. And yes, that is one other way that you can use divination to contact the spirit world. Not one that I typically work with on a regular basis, but something that, you know, when I was a lot younger, we often used. And that we'd have to use with a planchette that goes on top of it. It's a triangle, you've probably seen them, and the thing moves around on the board and goes to different letters. When you're using it with a pendulum, you're, you know, letting the pendulum swing in the different directions and go across and show you the answers of what you need to do. So you could also use that with some type of board underneath so that it could swing towards the answers for what you're looking for. I typically only use pendulums for mostly yes/no answers and quick things like that. You can also use dowsing rods to help you find things. That is divination. Dowsing rods can also be used in a yes/no. I don't have any here, but you can have, when you ask yes/no questions, you can have it defined with the dowsing rods that they will cross when the answer to the question is yes, and they will go apart if the answer is no. Different things like that. So any type of thing that you can use to access your subconscious or unconscious mind to get the answers that you are looking for, or to get answers from your spirit guides or your ancestors that are around now that the veil is thin. Ooh, this is a little dusty. So another way that you can get answers is through scrying. And this is a scrying mirror. This is obsidian. It's hard to see that. There it is. Now you can see that it's reflective and shiny. So Scrying mirrors are meant to be used during meditation, and you can meditate. You can also use candles to scry. You can use water to scry. There's lots of different ways that you can scry. And to scry means to allow your vision to focus on this or on the reflection of this, perhaps with a candlelight or a dim light, and you just become, your vision becomes unfocused as you meditate, and you will visually see the answer in the flame or in the mirror. And that is how crystal balls are used as well. Some people will use crystal balls to do that sort of thing. I like to do candle scrying of all of those the most, because I tend to do more of that type of work with the shamanic journey work that I do. So I don't usually use any tool when I'm doing that type of retrieval of information to see things visually. I use my own inner mind and just trust where I am. But sometimes I do like to occasionally just meditate and just barely have my eyes slit open and use a candle to allow myself to get into that lower wave frequency of meditation, the deeper meditation, to get an answer to something that I am looking for, or just open myself up to hear or see whatever it is that my inner self or my ancestors are trying to get to me right now. So, like I said, there's so many even other ways of divination that I did not talk about, but that gives you a brief introduction of divination, and right now is a great time to do divination. As you are watching this, the full moon is actually tomorrow, on the day that this video has gone live. So right before the full moon, right before Samhain, the veil's getting thin. Tuesday, today, that the video went up, and Wednesday is the perfect time to be doing some divination. Now you're watching this video later. That does not mean that you can't do divination. It is just a little bit easier to do divination and to get those messages, because we're more receptive when the veil is a little thinner. We're more receptive during full moons to get that information, but you can access that information anytime. It is right here inside of you. We are all connected. You are connected to your ancestors all the time. They are here. They're right here with you. They are connected to you. They are part of you. And we are all part of each other. We have that collective unconscious that you can tap into. You have your own subconscious that you can tap into. And divination is great for all of those things. I just wanted to share with you that when the veil is getting thin around Samhain is a great time to introduce yourself, because it's a little easier to have that access or to understand the answers that you are getting when you use the different forms of divination. So we talked about tarot cards, we talked about divination cards and oracle cards and positive thought cards, and then we did a little bit of talk about runes, and then talking about pendulums and different ways that you can do scrying. So I hope that that helped you to understand some of the different forms of divination that are out there, and also why right now would be an easier time to use them to help get those answers that are here inside of you or stuck inside your head to come out, because that is where your higher self has that information for you to get back into balance and to figure out where you are and what you need to do when you are struggling with certain situations. This Thursday, we are going to talk about how to fill your house with joy and sunshine and good energy, and why that is so important. I barely touched on that today at the beginning of this video. And if you missed the live stream on Sunday, we talked a little bit about the energy around Samhain and how to cleanse and clear out some of that energy and let go of things right now as the new year is approaching for those of us who follow the Earth spirituality path. The cycle starts and ends at Samhain. So, many blessings, tribe, and I'll see you on Thursday.